Welcome to another live Q&A. I am so excited for today's session because usually I get kicked off or my service doesn't work and I got a new computer, so hopefully I stay here for the whole time. But the way that this works is inside of the community on Facebook, you can ask questions. Once a week, I put out a feed or a post where you can ask questions. This week, we didn't have a ton of questions asked on the post, so I went in and I pulled some of the questions that you guys have been asking throughout the week, and I'm going to address them here. But I answer those questions first, and then if I have time, I might answer some live. But if you want to guarantee that your question is answered, drop it in the group beforehand. Okay, don't wait until I'm actually live. So let's just dive right in. So Christina asks, how do I explain to a 3-year-old what a boundary is? That way I can explain to him that boundaries are important and help him set his own boundaries. So the way that I do it is we don't do like a big lesson about boundaries. Like we don't sit down and say, okay, today we're going to learn about boundaries. This is what boundaries are, and this is why boundaries are important. Instead, in the day to day, I just use that word. So for instance, if Zoe says, no, Emma, I don't want you to sit on top of me, and Emma keeps sitting on top of her, then I would say, Emma, you're crossing Zoe's boundaries, and it's really important that you respect her boundaries. Or if someone is doing something, like maybe somebody is tickling Zoe and she doesn't like it, then I might say, Zoe, do you need help enforcing your boundaries? Right? And we're bringing up that term throughout the day. At 3 years old, it might be really hard to understand like the whole concept of boundaries, but they'll see how it is used in their day to day and how it helps them protect their body, their autonomy, and how important it is in dealing with other people. And then as they get a little bit older, you can talk to them. There are books. One that I like is called It's My Body, What I Say Go. I think What I Say Goes. I think it's what it's called. I've talked about it a couple of times, but that's great for boundaries. You can just like search on Amazon for boundary books for kids and you can read stories about it, or you can just start to tell them, a boundary is something that you set to protect your body. So, or to make sure that your body is comfortable, right? Because it doesn't always have to be a safety thing. You can just set a boundary because that's what makes you comfortable. And you can start telling them this is what a boundary is. Boundaries are important because everybody needs to keep their body safe and comfortable. We need to respect boundaries because X, Y, and Z. But I wouldn't even start there at 3 years old. I would just talk about how this affects them on a day to day by just bringing up that term throughout their day to day. Okay, another question that came through, and I'm going to have to read the whole thing from here. Octavia says, what should you do when you set a boundary? You've given options. The child is still screaming, throwing themselves around. For example, my daughter wanted my phone. I said no because I just didn't want her having it at the moment. She has it a lot and it was early and I just didn't want to. I told her that she has a tablet and that's my phone. It's my property. I don't have to give it to her. Just like the tablet is her property, but that wasn't good enough. She moved on and starts playing with her siblings. My oldest starts his remote learning and it starts up again. I didn't want to give her the tablet because she would want it for quiet time. I gave her options for what she could do. Nothing was good enough. She followed me around, screaming, pulling on my leg until she got her way. Now it's been 30 minutes later. The behavior is still happening. I've tried everything, but following me around, screaming is making me lose my patience with her. I'm still learning how to set boundaries with my kids, and I feel like that's where I'm failing. What happens when they cross the boundary or when they're not okay with your responses? Okay, hold on one second. Hey, Zoe, can I help you? I did see that, but it popped up on my phone and I can't check my phone right now. So I can approve it when I'm done here. You can do Disney on the TV if you would like, okay? Not happy, but that's the answer, right? So that was a perfect timing for this question that I'm about to answer. So the thing is that your kids don't have to be happy about the boundaries that you set. Okay. It's okay if they're screaming, if they're crying, if they're throwing a fit. I will tell you that that's not the time to try to talk logic to them. That's not the time to tell them, this is what property is, and this is my property, and this is your property, especially when like it's something that she sometimes can have, sometimes can't, right? So the fact that she's upset about it is like a non-issue to me. I know it feels really stressful for you, but it would be a non-issue for me because like she's allowed to have her feelings. She's not going to be happy that you just told her no. All you can really do in that instance is to hold firm on your boundary because that will show her that it doesn't matter how much you throw a tantrum. I'm not going to move on my boundary. The boundary was set for a reason, or that rule was set for a reason, and it's not going to budge. That will help her for the future to know that you're going to be stable, you're going to be calm, and that throwing the tantrum is not going to get her way. And so it will only help for future things. But what I would focus on is what is your actual boundary? Okay, so in this case, it seems like you have two things going on here. The first thing is no, you can't have my phone, and the second thing is no, you can't follow me around the house. Right? Those are your two boundaries that you need to stay strong on. Part of how we help kids through this disappointment is by teaching them how to like get through those moments of disappointment. Um, Christina's saying, I have the same issue. Yeah. Um, so part of how we help them get through these hard times is by showing them some alternatives and some ways to deal with those big feelings and also some ways to kind of get what they want without crossing the boundary. Like that's okay if they get what they want without crossing the boundary. You offered the tablet. I think that was awesome. You said, "Hey, you can't have my phone, but you can have your tablet." I'm still upset. I'm still screaming. I'm still crying. Okay, cool. You don't have to play a tablet. You can play quietly. Here's your two options, tablet or quiet play. That's it. Okay, you're still having big feelings. You're still, is there anything else that I can help you with? Because I'm not going to be able to help you with that. Did you want me to give you a hug? Do you want me to sit on the floor with you for 2 minutes? Do you want me to help you get set up on your tablet? Right? All of those would be acceptable ways that you can help your child to regulate. If they are throwing a tantrum, they're, just inconsolable, they don't want to hear from you, they're screaming at you, and you have to go do other things, you have other kids in the house, right? Now they start following you around. That's when you can start enforcing some of your body boundaries. Listen, you can be upset. I'm sorry that you're so upset about this. Here are your options again, but you can't follow me around the house like this. Okay. So I need you to stay over here. You can go in your bed and have your tantrum. You can sit on the couch so I can see you. We can set this 5-minute timer and I'm going to go help your brother. And then I can come back and we can sit together and I can help you work through it. But you're going to only focus on those boundaries that you are actually enforcing, which is you're not going to get the phone. Anything else is fair game. You're not going to get the phone and you're not going to follow me around the house kicking and screaming, right? So anything outside of that is internal. You're going to breathe. You're going to say, I'm going to stay consistent and stable for my child. It's okay that they are upset right now, right? I'm not going to give into this because giving into this is not teaching them life skills, and I'm here to teach them life skills. My job is to comfort them. They're allowed to be upset, right? And you're going to give yourself some positive self talk and you're going to help yourself through it and you're going to help them through it. And then maybe later on, when they're not in this elevated state and you're in this elevated state, when you guys kind of settle, it could be hours or days later. Then maybe you're going to say something like, hey, listen, yesterday you were really frustrated about the tablet. Next time, if you're really frustrated about the phone, next time, if you're really frustrated, you can do this. Or, hey, I've come up with this schedule for the phone. So instead of me just saying no, let's set some times that you are allowed to have the phone. Aside from these times, you have to have your tablet, right? And you might set up some systems so that you are successful. But I think you're doing a great job. I know it's really, really hard once you start to be triggered and you start to lose patience and you have other kids in the house. So, like, keep your cool, but just keep the focus. I think, like, in summation, that long answer is like, keep your focus. Like, what boundary am I actually enforcing? And let me not try and control their reaction to my um, enforcing the boundary, right? They're allowed to have their feeling. So Shannon says, oh, I want to read this comment. This is probably going to be the last question that I can answer today. And just as a reminder, if you are watching live and you want to make sure that your question is answered, always ask it on the live Q&A thread inside of the community, because I always leave enough time to answer all the questions in there, but I don't always have time to answer questions that are live. Okay, so Shannon says, I think I made a mistake. My local gym has childcare and we loved it. My 3-year-old ran straight into play, promised every morning to be kind, never wanted to leave. Well, one day they took the kids to the basketball court and he saw me on the way to the playroom to get his brother. And they, for good reason, didn't let him come to me. He went one time after that, but then he started refusing to let me leave. He wants to play and he talks to the people that work there, but as soon as I try to walk out, he freaks. I won't leave him somewhere if he freaks out because I can't enjoy myself and because I know he's uncomfortable. And also, he's stronger than most 10-year-olds, and those poor college students shouldn't have to deal with it. Here's where I think I made the mistake. I keep trying to go, and when he freaks out, we either leave his brother in child watch and go to the track to run or exercise, or we leave. I'm afraid I gave him a lot of power over this situation. If it were an emergency and I was leaving him with my mom or dad, I don't want him to throw a fit just because it works at the gym. I am not upset that I can't get a good workout right now. If he needs me, that's fine, but I'm worried about this sudden change and how to handle it. So, this is such a valid, and that's why I pulled this comment from inside the group this week. Like, this is such a valid concern, especially when you're getting to that transition age, right? Where it's like we need to teach them life skills and we need to give them like the opportunity to have confidence and the opportunity to have independence. Um, but we also are moms and have mom guilt. And so when we see them crying or freaking out, it's going to be really hard for us to just leave them. So, and this is something that I went through too with the gym with Zoe. I think, yeah, right now he has had a lot of power over this situation, right? Whenever we act out of guilt, usually the child has a lot of control over the situation. And now, right now, in his mind, his options are not like, go play with my friends in the daycare or go home and not go to the daycare and not see my friends. Like his options is like, go work out with mom, right? Or go home and play with mom, and he wants to go work out with mom. Like he's not getting, there's no reason that he would go and stay in the daycare because he gets this like one-on-one time with mom where he gets to do something really cool, which is like work out at the gym. That sounds way more appealing than going to the daycare. What I would do is I would try to see that and like reframe that as him asking for that one-on-one time with you. Maybe doing something not with his brother, right? Maybe just you and him doing something that's really cool. What you might do is you might take control back over that situation by saying, hey, when we get to the gym, we're going to do a 5-minute run around the track. I'll race you, and then we're going to go to the daycare, and I'm going to get the rest of my workout in. Now he's getting that one-on-one time. You are taking control of the situation. And yes, he might freak out the first couple of times that you drop him in the daycare. What I would personally do, because I know I wouldn't be able to just like drop him and go and actually get a good workout in, I would see if you can bring a book or bring your computer or scroll TikTok or something and just sit nearby. So put him in the room, go sit nearby so you can hear when he settles. And then you can choose maybe a couple of days, maybe for a week, you don't work out. You just go, you do your run around the track with him, you drop him off in the daycare, and then you sit and you wait and you listen. And then when you feel comfortable, then you can go start getting your workout in, right? But I do think it's important that kids are able to do that separation. You might even think about in the beginning, like only leaving him for 5 minutes and then coming back, whether he's crying or not, or only leaving him for 10 minutes, or leaving him until he settles and then coming back like almost immediately after he settles. That way he is not associating the crying and the tantruming to mom coming back to save me. Right? So as long as you think it's safe, you don't think that he's freaking out in there because there's any kind of abuse happening, I think that's how I would probably handle it. And that's how I did handle it with Zoe. To be honest with you, when she would cry when I first started dropping her at the daycare at the gym, I would just sit nearby and I would wait until I could see that she was settled. I could hear that she was settled. And then I might go get a quick cardio workout in. And then the next day I might say, okay, I can go a little bit longer this time. But it's definitely hard. All right, do I have time for one more? Let me see. All right, I had this one more. I'll do this one quick because I have a call in 4 minutes. Kylie says, I'm looking for some advice or encouragement. I have a 4.5-year-old, almost 3-year old, 1-year old, and my two older kids don't listen to anything I say. I want a gentle and respectful parent, but it's so hard for me. I've read that when you want to yell, it's because you're triggered. Yes. And if that's the case, I'm literally triggered by almost everything they do. And I hate that. I give options. I try to talk things out with them. Even when I lose my absolute mind, they don't listen. My 3-year old literally ignores me most of the time. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to start answering because I don't have a ton of time right now. Go read the rest of Kylie's comment inside of the community. Here's the thing. As parents, we're always trying to control. We're always telling our kids things that they need to listen to. We're always commanding. Okay. And honestly, eventually they just start to tune us out because they don't want to be controlled all day. They want this, especially as they get older, 3, 4.5. They don't want to be controlled, right? They want to have autonomy. They want to have choices. My number one piece of advice, if I have to give you very quick advice, which I do, is to stop commanding. Like literally play through your day and be like, okay, what things do I command my kids? Go put on your shoes, go brush your teeth, go get your pajamas on. We're leaving the park, and try to either frame it as a choice or frame it as a question. So you might say, hey, we need to leave now. Did you want to wear your boots or your Crocs? Right? That's a choice. Or you might say, hey, it's time to leave now. Do you know what we need to do before we head to the car? And now you're giving them the opportunity to think. You're giving them the opportunity to have that autonomy. You're giving them the opportunity to have what feels like control. You still ultimately control the day, right? But you're giving them some control in that moment. And when you start to release that control, they will stop fighting you so much on things. I do talk about that a lot in my parenting reset, which is actually launching on Monday. So that is like, of course, it's got like 40 lessons, 3 hours worth of video, and 40 written lessons and a workbook. So if you want to learn more on that, it's in that program. But yes, I would definitely try to give some control. And then, yes, just look up like Rachel Rogers just launched a program talking about triggers. So you can check that out. I haven't actually purchased it or anything yet, but I trust any content that she puts out. But just like just Google like, I'm being triggered by my kids or handling triggers. But triggers, if it feels like you're being triggered by literally everything, you probably are. It probably stems from deep inside of you. And now that you're aware of it, you can start to make moves to make it better. So, thank you for being here. Again, make sure that you ask your questions in advance inside of the community. Don't wait until I'm actually live because then I don't get to answer them. But I try to go live usually on Thursdays or Fridays, and I absolutely enjoy being here with you. So check out my Parenting Reset program. It's launching on February 28th, and then also make sure that you're part of the group on Facebook. I'll catch you next time.